us tonight, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a couple of my passions, specifically education, mindfulness, and bringing the two together. Before I go any further, though, I have a little secret to share. And that's the fact that I care more about the people that my students become and their overall well-being than the grades that they get. Good. No shrieks. On the start of the stage, we're all good. 10 years ago, I joined this profession with the desire to make connections to my students and with the desire to empower them to realize their full potential. And it's been an amazing experience. But the reality is, we face a lot of challenges. Specifically, today in the modern society, the age of distractions, the age of technology, also the age of increased stress. Now, to highlight the reality that we are facing an immense amount of stress within our school system today, at the beginning of the year I gave a survey to my students. In fact, all of the high school students. 449 responses. And of those responses, 89%, nearly 9 out of 10 students reported dealing with moderate to extreme levels of stress. Now, if one of the main things we're trying to do in education is make connections to each other and the experience of learning, how is this a tenable situation? So, here today, I'm here to challenge our paradigm of success and ask a couple of big questions. If we are truly to bring life to the classroom, to the experience, we need to ask ourselves, what is the best kind of education to meet the demands of today and tomorrow? And maybe even a bigger question, how do we define success? Now, I'm not saying that chasing after a high grade point average and getting into elite university isn't something we should be doing. Those are valid goals, but they shouldn't come at the cost of the well-being of our students. In fact, if we're able to increase our focus on well-being and on the happiness of our students, we'll find that these two things aren't mutually exclusive. For the last 8 years, my primary responsibility has been teaching AP economics. Economics is the study of choice, and we use this lens to figure out how to maximize productivity, how to maximize utility, which is just a fancy way of saying happiness. And really, that's what we're trying to do in the classroom as well. How can we maximize the productivity of learning, as well as give students the ability to be happy, passionate, and engaged learners? We also use this lens to figure out how do the choices that we make impact ourselves as well as the world around us. For most of my students, this is the first time they've ever taken an econ course. And so developing this lens of choice and empowerment is something completely new to them. So on the first day of class, I often show them this slide. Every time we buy something, every time we make a purchase, we're casting a vote for the kind of world we want to live in. This is a powerful statement. This is something that we all need to take to heart. But it's only half the equation. Now, developing this lens of choice and empowerment starts with economics. But over the last couple of years, I've been trying to bring mindfulness not only into my classroom, but into the greater culture of our school. Economics is the science of scarcity. And as we slow down and we start to analyze the things around us, we get greater insight. What is scarce? What's keeping us from our needs? I would argue that we actually have a surplus of stress, but a shortage of tools for managing. And economics is also the study of choice. Whereas mindfulness helps us to realize that in each moment we have a choice. And that choice will allow us to be more empowered and engaged in the present moment and whatever is thrown at us in the most positive and productive way possible. Some of you may not be familiar with mindfulness. Mindfulness, in its most simple terms, in its most simple definition, is the practice of paying attention in a particular way without judgment. It's saying, this is happening right now, and meeting this moment with compassion, with balance, and with the ability to cope with whatever it may be in the best way possible. When we're practicing mindfulness, we're really focusing on 3 skills. The first skill This is a skill that we've demanded from our students from day one, the first day they enter the class, but we've never taught them. That's the skill of paying attention. As we learn how to pay attention to ourselves and the world around us, awareness blossoms. We realize the greater connectivity between each moment, each person, and the overall experience that we're all having in our own subjective ways. And as we continue to develop this skill, we get this sense of balance or equanimity. And no matter what life throws at us, we're able to meet it head on. Now, it's not saying that this is going to cure all of our ills. This is just a tool in our toolbox to meet the demands of society as well as the demands of education today. Over time, continuing studies have shown that these are the major impacts. It helps us to manage stress. It helps to engage in greater social skills. It helps us to really deal with all of the things that we need to deal with, as well as amplify all the positive experiences that we want in the classroom. There's another challenge, though, and that's the fact that we're working on old hardware. Now, from an economic standpoint, no problem. Let's just put in a new chip, put in a new machine, upgrade the factory. It's a little bit more difficult when we're talking about our brain. Specifically, the part of our brain, the amygdala, that allows us to survive over the years, that was part of the fight, flight, or freeze response, that allowed us to run away from that woolly mammoth that you saw on the previous slide. Well, that helped us to survive, but in a lot of ways it's actually inhibiting us now. Because when we're stressed, this is the part of the brain that's fully engaged, and actually has the ability to override the other part, specifically the prefrontal cortex, that's in charge of executive functioning skills, that helps with emotional regulation. It's really the front office of the modern brain that allows us to be successful, no matter how we define it. You may say, well, what are we going to do? Where's the hope? Well, by fusing mindfulness with the growing support of the concept of neuroplasticity, which basically says that our experiences determine how our brain develops. And even more so, the neurons that fire it. And if we're able to open our awareness and realize how we're engaging with the experience, and then attend to it in a more productive and positive way, we're then going to be reinforcing the parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, which will help us to manage whatever we're dealing with, which will help us to cultivate the sense of balance, the sense of compassion, the sense of empathy that is essential for the leaders of today and tomorrow. And with this, growth mindset becomes a real thing. Now, mindfulness is often practiced by sitting down, focusing on a breath, creating this anchor that brings us back to the here and now, when the 60,000 thoughts that we have per day are distracting us from the beauty of the present moment. Sometimes we also practice by doing body scans, increasing the awareness of the somatic experience of just being. Sometimes it's mindful listening, also an essential skill. But I'd like to finish with a practice of heartfulness. Heartfulness helps us to develop a sense of compassion and gratitude for each moment and each individual that we're sharing these moments with. So I'd like to invite you to join me. So, if you're all seated, go ahead and find a comfortable, upright position. Take a couple of deep breaths, allowing yourself to ground into the moment. And again, just slow down and experience what it means to just be here right now. Now place your hand on your heart. Notice the beating of it. Pulsing of life through our body. Now we're going to fill our hearts by imagining and visualizing a person that we love and see on a regular basis. And visualizing them doing something that fills their heart with joy and fills their heart with happiness. And breathing that in and letting us reflect on the beautiful experience of seeing someone else happy and someone else successful. And I'd like you to silently wish them three things. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. you for sharing this moment with me. Thank you for allowing me to share my passion. And may you too be happy, healthy, and at peace. You're welcome.